I have not told the complete truth, and I have no shame. I am able to travel so frequently simply because... Hey guys, what's up? It's Anyah, and I am back with another video. Obviously, I'm not in my own space right now. I'm outside because it's beautiful in DC, but I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of questions like these about how I am able to travel so frequently. I get this question a lot, probably more frequently than any other question that I get about solo traveling being young, solo traveling being black, solo traveling being a black woman. This is the most common question I get. So I'm gonna answer it. I have not told the complete truth about how I am able to solo travel, so I decided to come clean on this video. A lot of people have assumed that I am rich, that my parents or parent has paid for my journeys abroad or has funded it in some way, and that's simply just not true. I have funded my trip completely every time I've gone abroad, and I'm going to show you how I do that. There's no method though, and I think the assumption is that I have a method or I've saved for some time, which is usually not the case. I am simply crazy, but I am free, you know? So I'm just going to detail it now. I am able to travel so frequently simply because I don't have a method to traveling. A lot of people might be like, Anyah, what does that even mean? Like, you have to have a method to traveling somehow. I plan what I want to do, and I just hustle and I make it work. When I set in my mind that I want to go a certain destination, I have this kind of idea that I'm just going to travel paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people might be like, oh my god, that's so dangerous. Oh my god, you're crazy for doing that. Some people might say, what does that even mean? Simply how others live paycheck to paycheck, I travel paycheck to paycheck. When I first decided to take my solo trip to Bali at 19 years old, that was purely out of upping and going. Just impulsively made the round trip flight from JFK, New York airport to the Balinesian airport in Indonesia. I did not have a plan. I didn't have my Airbnb booked. I didn't have additional money saved. It was in the middle of COVID. I had lost my job. I was completely burnt out, and I just decided that I needed to take a journey away and make travel a priority. So I had about $950 to my name. My flight to Bali was $894 from JFK to Bali, and Bali JFK back. So I bought my plane ticket on Qatar Airlines, where you could pay half of it by reserving your plane ticket and then pay the other half later. And that's what I decided to do because I didn't have the money at the time. So, hi. So at the time, I only had about $900 to my name, and I decided to book the flight. So I had $500 that I put down for the flight to Bali, and then I had $400 to my name, but I had a bill coming up. So then I waited till my second paycheck came in 2 days later to book the rest of the money off to do the round trip to Bali. The second time I went abroad was in Tulum, Mexico. Oh, let me rewind actually. Running the risk of traveling paycheck to paycheck is you make a lot of room for mistakes and error to happen, and I will say that's the disclaimer. I'm not encouraging anybody to do this. I'm still figuring it out myself, and I'm exploring ways to become a digital nomad and to sustain my life while abroad full-time. So this is my goal, this is my ambition, this is what I want to pursue, and I will do so by exploring those ways to still travel abroad. So these are things that can occur if you do decide to travel paycheck to paycheck. I had been on my unemployment check. Like many others, I decided not to reinvest my paycheck into something else but invest it into experiences and simple pleasures in life, like traveling. And I prioritize traveling, so that's what I decided to do. So while I was in Bali, I had ran low on money. I was down to about $100 in my name. Yikes! I had not gotten my federal refund check from my taxes that I had filed, that DC had taken out when you file your taxes at the beginning. And I was wondering when it was going to hit, because I was in Bali, and I was $100 to my name. But I had all my Airbnbs and things booked already before I decided to embark upon this trip. So I'm calling my mom, like, hey mom, like, I don't have any money. But she was like, oh, like, you better figure it out. Of course, my mom, if it came push to shove, she would support me, even if I was abroad doing stupid stuff, like not managing my money. But finally, at the end of the day, $400 hit my bank account, or maybe it was $500. $500 hit my bank account. I was good to go. Had the money for the rest of my trip. I even had to cut down on some of the activities that I wanted to do for my trip, simply because I did not have the money. And I had the discipline to tell myself, Anyah, you do not have the money to go all the way above what you wanted to do. You just should be blessed that you are allowed to even go to this trip, knowing that you work a minimum wage job. So I humbled myself, brought my butt back to New York, took the train back from New York to DC, and that was my trip. That was my first solo trip. My second solo trip was in Tulum, Mexico, where I turned 20. Once again, I went to Tulum, Mexico, had a great time, booked the flight first, booked the Airbnb later, got it figured out. When I was on my way back from the airport, another thing that I did not plan for popped up, and that was me missing my flight. While I was abroad, a lot of times they board the flight 2 hours beforehand, or you have to scope out the other airlines' rules and regulations when it comes to boarding and making your flight. I had not done that, and once again, the underlying factor of traveling paycheck to paycheck is that I had no money when it comes to room for error, or the planning the unexpected, or recovering for the unexpected, however you want to phrase that. So once again, I was stuck at the Cancun airport, and I had about $100 to my name, and I did not know how I was going to get home because I had missed my flight. And the only other flight back to the United States was to go to Philadelphia. I was like, I don't live in Philadelphia. Do you guys have any more flights? Can you transfer me? They said, yes, ma'am, we can transfer you, but it'll be the next day. I said, fine, that's okay. I didn't have a panic attack. Like I said again, my family really supports me when I do these things. They're very worried, but they also are very supportive. Just until I mess up, Yeah, so I waited later on that day at the airport for the next flight, which was in about 4 to 5 hours. And I took the flight I took the flight back to the US to Philadelphia, booked a motel room for one night. The same night, because I got back really late. In the morning, I took a bus back to the airport to go to Washington, D.C., and I was finally home. The third solo trip I did was my solo trip to Peru. I had a lot that I did not plan for in Peru, but it was okay. And this was the first time I did have to ask somebody for money. So when I went to Peru, and I have no shame, because at the end of the day, I'm learning and I'm exploring ways on how to rectify situations like this. I'm having these experiences now so I can better prepare for the next time I do decide to solo travel. So while I was in Peru, I had my money. I had saved, guys. I had about $1,500 that I went on that trip with. I had everything saved, my flight to and fro. Now that is over, I had about $1,500 to my name. That was more than enough, because I had planned to go to Peru for 2 weeks, but I had actually shortened that trip simply because I did not want to be in Peru for 2 weeks, and I had a voucher from another trip that I had to rebook because I did not have the money to go to Hawaii. And so I booked my flight to Peru from the e-voucher, so that was completely taken care of. So I just needed money to book my accommodations, my flights between cities in the country, things of that nature. So when I did decide to cut my trip short, I called Delta, no response. I emailed Delta, no response. So I had to find a way to get a flight back home that was earlier than 2 weeks out. So I went on American, booked a flight, it was fine, but it was $444. And I was like, oh my God, I did not prepare for this. So I had to ask my uncle to cash out me money because I had cash and I did not have a worldwide bank at the time. So, and you can't book flights with cash, especially when you're abroad. You have to go to the airport and book them that way. And I had no way of doing that because American Airlines was not in Peru and not open at the hours that I need them to be open. So, yes. I got to the airport in Peru, ready for my trip, and something told me I had to take a COVID test on my way back, but I was only there for 4 days, and you can't get the COVID test more than 2 days out. Lo and behold, I come to the airport at 11 p.m. I arrive in the Lima airport from Cusco at 11. I had a flight at 5:45 in the morning, so I was already there for that period of time. It comes time to board my flight. I get held back because I do not have an updated COVID test. I am told that I need to go get tested before I get on the flight. I said, okay, that's fine. Do you know where I can get tested? She says, there, but they open the next day at 5 a.m. So it was already 5 a.m. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like, oh my God, I'm going to miss my flight. How am I going to get back home? It's fine. I kind of had a mental breakdown, and right before I had the mental breakdown, we had an earthquake. So I was in the airport already 4 hours, like delirious from not having sleep. Went through an earthquake in the airport and missing my flight because I didn't have a COVID test. So I was already kind of upset about that. So I had a mental breakdown in the Lima airport parking lot, and it was a very stressful situation, and I just had to kind of let it all out so I can refocus on what I was going to do, because I have been in situations like this before, so it was nothing new. So I called my mom, tell her what's happening, this isn't that, whatever. And of course it worked out. The guy was being snappy with me because, you know, he was like, it's your fault you missed a flight, like we shouldn't even be rebooking it, because he didn't want to transfer me to DC at first. He just wanted to leave me in Miami, and I was like, I don't live in Miami, and my transfer was originally to DC, so he was snapping at me at first, but we got it all figured out, so it was fine. Moral of the story, I do not recommend this to anyone. I have the skills to hustle and go after things myself, and always find ways to rectify a situation and get it worked out, especially doing risky things and things that I love, because I take full responsibility. Maybe that's because I'm an only child. Maybe that's because I just have a go-getter spirit. Maybe it's just because I'm a hustler. Maybe it's just because I'm that girl. I don't know. But I wanted to dispel the myths that I'm rich. I wanted to dispel the myths that I have it all together. And I also wanted to dispel the myths that I'm the only one who can do it, because that's simply not true. And I'm explaining that in this video by communicating to you guys how I'm doing it and what I'm doing today. So, hope this video sheds some light, shed some clarity. I can't wait to see you guys on the next plane flight out of the country. Hope I'm continuing to inspire you guys to solo travel and follow your dreams. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it, because it's simply not true. I'll talk to you guys later. Hope this video helps. Love you. Bye.